All right, getting started here. This is a continuation of the previous work that I've been doing to get Solidus, the e-commerce Ruby on Rails platform, working with the Rails 6 beta. Today, this session will be powered by Misalichai Roibus. So last time we dug into a bunch of stuff. We got front end working, or almost all of the specs on front end working. Everything except for, I think there were 5 specs failing. Back end was all the way working, and core was all the way working, and API was not working even slightly at all. So that's that. The big thing we ran into was that there was some code in the abilities that, like the CanCan abilities, that no longer works if we upgrade to a more recent version of CanCanCan. And unfortunately, we need to upgrade to a more recent version to get Rails 6 support. So we're going to have to do some work on the abilities to fix that. I guess let me just fix this. Okay. The other development since last time is that the maintainer of Paranoia, which we depend on, went to merge the Rails 6 support and discovered that he doesn't have the ability to override the CI, and the CI is not working. So we have to wait on that. So we're just gonna have to keep using the branch we're working off of until that gets sorted out. But hopefully that will in the not too distant future. So I guess we'll just step into it. This is just the Rails 6 support PR that's now waiting on this other issue, which is that CI seems broken. Okay, so let's track down. Where were we? Okay, there we go. Permission sets default customer. Oh, I'm in front end. So that's a core, yep. So the one that's really, I'm just going to revert this to how it was. So what's the issue that we're running into now is that CanCan no longer lets you define these rules with blocks and use the accessible by, because accessible by is expected to generate a query to pull in all of whatever the resources that a given user or whatever the model is has access to. But if we define the access using dynamic logic like this, it can't infer what queries to make. Previously, it just ignored these blocks, which is understandable behavior, but could be a bit unexpected for people, and I sort of understand why they changed this one. I personally prefer Pundit, that forces you to just define those queries yourself rather than having to use a DSL to make this all work. It does mean a little bit more duplication, but I find it a little preferable. That said, with this, you can pass in a query. So we've got, here we go. Defining abilities with blocks, here we go. You can pass in stuff that it will turn it into a query for you, or you can actually just pass in a scope and it will use that scope, which I think is what we're going to do. First, we have to track down the specs for this because I don't really know what they look like. Is there a default customer spec? Okay, there is. A little bit limited. doesn't offer a ton of safety here. T is probably done steeping. That's passing, and I don't suppose that it's actually testing the logic we care about, is it? Oh, 2 viewers. We beat last stream's record then, so now it's not. It should be allowed to read or update the order if the guest token is an empty string. Can update. Interesting. What is this actually testing? Ability. It's creating an ability, but it's not. It's not. So if you aren't logged in and an order doesn't have a guest token, then you can read it? Okay. I mean, that's not a particularly helpful spec in this situation. In general, like, none of this logic is directly tested, which is a little unfortunate. I'm not even sure that this permission set would be activated in the spec. At least if we don't have a user, they wouldn't have any roles, so they, which is I believe how this works. Oop. Well, right. Yeah, this project doesn't have try in it. Oh, but I have to require it. But I'm wrong. So default customer is applied. Interesting. I guess that would make sense. Do that. This defines all the permission sets, but then they're mapped to roles somewhere, aren't they? I forget what that's done. Okay, here we go. This is where, this is the class responsible for it. Activate permissions. Rerolls default as well as, okay, so that's probably how that works. So that's an acceptable way for that to work. Okay. So we want to just define the, for starters, we'll just define so that's not correct, but we can probably go find some of the specs that were failing. Unauthorized. Yeah, these front-end specs were probably failing because I removed the code that was the permissions that would have granted users access to their own orders. I believe that's the case. So I'm thinking if we run the checkout controller specs, we can at least get some idea. please. There we go. So we'll run that spec, see what we get. Okay, that didn't fix anything. But now that I think about it, this probably only relies on the actual block itself. Probably doesn't matter that this is even there. If we have if I can find a spec. It's too far back in the history to find a spec that was causing that was hitting the actual CanCan error. Let's make it prize. That's before we upgraded CanCan, so we're honing in on it. Gonna say no. Or I have to run all the specs again. Oh, this looks promising. This is the API stuff. Dang. Well, so we're gonna have to write some SQL to do this anyway, because I guess it's not too bad. I guess it's not that bad at all. So you want to say where spree orders dot user ID equals question mark or spree orders dot is guest token. Can we do not null here? I wonder. Or whether, or do they end up with blank guest tokens? I don't really know what that present is protecting us against. We'll do this for starters, and we'll have to dig into that, or maybe I'll do that off stream because it's not the most exciting thing to do. Spree orders guest token is not null, and spree orders guest token equals a question mark, and our question marks are user.id and hook. That's a little on the long side. It's not a great way to format it, but that is what we need, I believe. So, at least it's close enough. I wish I could remember which specs were failing in our previous session. So, core's all passing. Don't think. I'm trying to remember. I don't remember. So. I mean, I guess I can just run the specs from the root. I really don't remember where the failures are. I hate running the whole test suite on stream, but... Oh, that's a lot of failures. Since core was passing, I suspect I've done something wrong. Oh, this is API. This is not. Well, API wasn't passing before, so... Undefined local variable or method token. Interesting. And I misunderstood what was going on there. Defaults, customer. That is right. It's because token is passed in here. Does that mean I can't use it out there? I mean, it obviously means I can't use it out there. I don't actually know where that comes from. So let's just take a little look at sprayability. So you mentioned token here. No, so this is. This is only responsible for this stuff. Now it only has an adder user. Oh, that makes sense because that's the scope. The token comes in the, I assume, comes with the resource, like an authorized call or something. Yeah, so it's passed in. That's an interesting problem. Maybe we're stuck again. That's frustrating. I mean, I can see why we haven't upgraded past the version of CanCanCan that we were on, now that I've dug into this. What would be a way to get around this? Any suggestions from chat? Let's go back to the docs. Yeah, sure, Worm. Yeah, the issue is that I need to be able to construct the, so I have to pass in a scope that pulls in the same records that testing those records, testing order records against this would do. So in this, yeah, so we're trying to make this work. Previously, what we had here was this, and what we this given an order and a token could tell you whether the user was able to read or update that order. However, what the this is unable to fetch all of the records from the database, all of the orders from the database that this user has those rights on. In order to give CanCanCan the ability to fetch the orders that a given user with a given token has access to, we need to give it a query that it can run, a scope of some kind, like an active record query. However, here where we're building that query, we don't have access to the token. I guess one of the things I should look is, where is that accessible by that we were running into issues with? Would have been on orders. I might just turn the let's see. Sorry. Accessible by resource controller. Wish I remembered which one. Order accessible by current ability index. Ah, that's probably the backend orders controller then. Sure, yeah, I can bring the music down. Maybe I want to bring me up, because... How's that? Is that a little better? My mic's a little further away today, so just didn't like having it in my face, but if it's too far away, I can adjust. So doing orders controller. Okay. Fails. Subject is required for read update. Interesting. So yeah, I should probably talk louder anyway. So though subject is required for read update. That's a whole different error than what we saw before. Permission sets base 29 can. Delegate can. Okay, so that's just it delegating to actual CanCan. And it's the default customer 11. So it's the thing we're working on. Oh, I see what I did. Oops. So I just accidentally removed the model that that rule was applying to. I'm hoping that fails. Ah, it doesn't fail. So that's not the issue I was running into? I don't remember what it was though. One of the calls to accessible by was causing us problems, and it would have been an order check. Man orders controller, that's doing it on orders. Promotions, so probably not here. Maybe front end. Oop, nope, there are no calls to accessible by in front end. I didn't expect there to be any in core. I would in here though. So in API, there are lots of calls to accessible by. Question is, do any of them actually refer to orders? Man, shoot. I really wish I had lost that issue. Well, lost what specs I've been working on. So let's just double check how this is supposed to look. Article and then article published. So ordered by. Oh. Okay. So there's a code back in place that doesn't work. Okay, well, I think the solution is just to run the test suite, see what happens. Does it run the different gems in random order? Felt like it was running core first for me before, consistently, but... API had quite a lot of failures previously, so if we don't see some failures, then we'll know we're at least on the same track. if we can't make a query that depends on the token, then that might be okay. It just might be unnecessary. A little unfortunate. It's sort of a... This isn't how you're supposed to use CanCan. At least I don't feel that it is. If you have a... So the token is the thing that would have access to the order. So having, like, passing extra things in feels weird to me. And now we're running up against the fact that it doesn't even really let you use those things to generate the query. So maybe this is just bad design, though it's not design we can undo at this moment anyway. If I could pass in a proc or something that took in what I needed, that could work. We're up to 4 viewers now, which I think is a stream record. Yeah, it doesn't, I'm not seeing anything. Oh, because accessible by wouldn't have access to... Of course it wouldn't. It wouldn't have access to the token. It doesn't even make sense. Like when you're saying it's accessible by a user, you don't have a token to pass in. That's not even a coherent idea. So this will probably work. What I put in there actually is probably just the best we can do. So maybe that's just fine. Getting some more failures here, but who knows if those are related. I actually sort of feel like this might be just the change we need. That's some nice tea. Getting a decent number of failures. Looks like a fair number of them are feature specs. Don't really know. I don't rely heavily on the Solidus API in the apps I work in. I tend to build out custom API endpoints for the functionality that I need that are a little more focused on the task at hand, because it's, you know, it's easier to just build something for your specific purpose than, you know, try and string together multiple endpoints that might be returning things and, you know, formats that are useful for, say, the admin, but not particularly to whatever the feature you're building is. And we're still getting a decent number of failures, so I suspect there's something else big that's not working correctly, and it's not just this. Slow specs. Keeping Ruby test suites fast requires some really concerted effort, and with an open source project like this, that's just really difficult. It was also picked up, you know, carrying on from a lot of development, some really heavy domain modeling and people often, one thing I've seen people do in specs is rely on just like the world to set up as test, rather than setting up a single order that maybe doesn't even need to be saved with the correct line items and adjustments to, say, test some sort of tax feature. They'll create all the tax rates and then let the order updater create the actual tax adjustments and everything. And things like that that are just sort of necessarily slow. The order factories, while they've gotten way faster, are still they're not the fastest factories around. Oof. Brutal. I'm just gonna stop there because I don't want to stare at this anymore. Oh, why didn't it print my output? Oh, there it goes. Ooh. Had me scared for a second that I wasn't gonna get my test output. That should not create it. Chrome version must be between 70 and 73. Huh. Driver info. That's the Chrome driver version that is showing me. It's not showing my Chrome version. I mean, I'm not between 70 and 73, so I'm at 74. So all the specs, those failures mean nothing. It's just Selenium failing everywhere. Cannot merge active record scope with other conditions. Oh, there you go. So these are real failures. The admin orders controller. Spec features admin orders new order spec. Okay. I mean that's something we can work with now. Here we go. So let's just run the spec on its own, see what we get. Oh, keep doing that. I actually have to be in the folders for that to work. Boom, everything's failing. Okay, they're all failing, and they are all failing. Most of them. Okay, let's get one that's failing. It's not using Chrome driver. So line 18 is a failure. This is admin path. Oh, so they're not all JS true. This one's not JS true. Now, just to double check, does focus work in this project? Does not appear to work in this project. It's fine. This is line 23. Cool. So now we've got a single spec we can run. And go look at the ability again. So this was default, customer. Ooh, that's not in here either. Cool. So I'm going to assume that the issue is that this exists. And by assume, I mean I'm going to immediately check it, because don't assume things. So the fact that they can't merge an active record scope with other conditions, like, first of all, doesn't seem true. It feels like it should just be able to do that. Instead, use a hash or SQL for. I'm still getting an error. Why are you erroring right there? guess I should go look at the line. See what that actually looks like. Unable to merge. Yeah, deep inside of CanCan. Demand orders controller 53. Okay, let's go look at that then. So that's right here. That seems ridiculous that it would be unable to do this. Shouldn't just return a scope? Let's dig into it. So run the spec. We're going to jump into a pry console and sort of start poking around to see exactly where the error is. Okay. So it's not the ransack. As expected, accessible by probably is trying to return a scope of some kind that we can ransack on. Ransack is a tool for searching, essentially. That params queue will be a set of conditions that are specially formatted for ransack to generate queries on. Okay, that's unfortunate. Now, surprised. Oh, can create order. What? We're testing index? But none of these even apply to index. Maybe we're not talking about. Maybe current ability isn't what we think it is. Maybe it's what you think it is, but it's not what I think it is. Okay, so current ability. So this is an instance of spree ability. Sort of, I guess I should explain here. How abilities work in spree is that based on the roles that a user has, so a user will have roles and they just have names like admin or default customer or something like that. And in the configuration for the app, those roles will be tied to permission sets, like the default customer permission set that we were looking at. And that permission set will do what a conventional CanCan ability would do, define all of the same rules. So that way we have sort of an extensible system to provide different sets of permissions for different users. However, this default says there's crap in it. This user has no roles. So they're going to get the default roles. That's how that works. Which makes it a little weird that they're looking at the admin. But I trust that that kind of makes sense. So you can look at actions, and actions have subjects. So that's read write for order, that's create for order, that's for option value, that's update for order, that's create return authorization. We'll go to index order. Is there not, do we not have a rule for index order? Rules. Weird. Okay. I mean, that does just look like it probably was the... Does look like it was probably the default permissions. Create user. Yeah, we're stub. There we go. Stubbing authorization. However, CanCan's still getting called. So the purpose of stub authorization is to prevent, in my understanding, is just to pass all authorization checks. But unfortunately, it's still getting called, which is pretty suspect. Is this gonna work? So I'm gonna take a look at stub authorization. Interesting. Allows you to receive fine by with the return experience. So just okay. Hoff's just pointed out that it should still get called, but should allow anything to happen, which is fair. I mean, it's still helpful here in telling us that our abilities are bad. Enjoy your sword. You have a sword and a crown. Very medieval. Okay, well that's fine then. I'm okay with it getting called, so that's not a problem. Yeah, Swarm. That's the Twitch Prime. You gotta go get yourself some Amazon Prime and hook it up to your Twitch account. All the cool kids have it. Alright, so that's failing. But it's just going through the default customer spec, as far I suspect. Which is making me wonder why it's so upset about this. Yes. Okay. So there we go. It's just because I didn't notice I had the third rule. So, the issue here is I can't pass it multiple queries and have this work, I think. I mean, you'd think that it would understand that this... You'd think this wouldn't be a problem. Yeah, not giving your money to Amazon is a noble goal. I can respect that. So this still errors, even though create has nothing to do with index. That's annoying. This is somewhat frustrating. I wish that it understood. This is really dumb. I don't really want to dive into CanCan internals right now. Like, these are... It's like I can't combine these. but it wants me to. Dang. There's a page called checking abilities. Kind of. Lots pointing out that cannot is a bit iffy in CanCan. I mean, what I want to do is pretend that this, we could fix that. That part's not hard because we can do can update completed at nil, I believe. And then we can also but that's so we can flip that. And I think the way that permission sets add-ons plugs in is also extra. What do you mean by that? I see. Yeah, I mean, that's fair. So, this is a tough one. We've got a bunch of pieces. Like the cannot update is important. Yeah. Because we have this extra layer on CanCan, we've just got a whole bunch of extra indirection, and I'm not surprised that some things didn't quite work as expected. I mean, if anything is order dependent, that immediately introduces a pretty significant amount of confusion. And people are gonna run into problems. Okay. So, can create orders fine. I mean, guess we can split them in two. Probably put this here as well, but and pre-orders completed at is null. Because we're never going to have a guest token when we're doing accessible by. So that query doesn't have to take that into consideration. So I don't know. This looks vaguely like an improvement. I mean, it's probably not even gonna work, but it has the Hoth stamp of approval. Yeah, so it's gonna have the same issue. They can't merge the queries. What a jerk. Model additions. So okay. Ability, model adapter, select action database records. So this can be the active record adapter. If mergeable conditions. So I'm just trying to look at exactly how CanCan works here, see if there's any options to get around this. So active record after 47, override scope. Oh, excuse me. So that's what I'm digging into now, Hoth, that I don't have a good understanding of the error that's happening. What I understand, what I assume to be happening, but you know, no assuming allowed, is that it's trying to run. It has two active record scopes, one for the read and one for the update, and it wants to combine both of them, and it doesn't know how to do that, and it's not willing to just call merge. But that's what I'm double checking right now. So if override scope, so it grabs the conditions, and if any of them are, oh yes, you're right, it would need or, of course. Though it shouldn't even be combining them. Can they be converted to hash? If I mean, I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think that could work. It is really too bad because the conditions for these are simple if you ignore that guest tokens exist. This whole passing in the guest tokens with the order just seems like entirely the wrong way to have done this. The thing that you instantiate the ability with should be the thing that you're asking about its permissions. It's like we're not authorizing the user to this token. And that's what I've seen done even in systems with Pundit, where they'll create a special object that like wraps the user as well as some other useful information to give more context for what a actor in the system would have permission to do in that particular context. I'm stuck again though. I don't even know what to do. Gave myself a tough one. It's also frustrating that I don't know, I think it's especially frustrating that CanCan doesn't seem to care about this, that it's index, and is trying to combine the queries, or caring about whether it can combine queries that it doesn't actually need to. Because like it should only care about the read one, right? Unless we got some really weird aliases in here. But read and update are definitely different things. Kind of don't want to dive into the internals of CanCan to try and figure out why it's doing this. But who says I'm not going to do that? So I've got a bunch of rules. Read, index, show. Yeah. There's only one. Oh, there is only one. Return condition was first. If position. So. Ugh. Wow. This is... I mean, we could just not call accessible by, but that's not the thing I want to do. Like working around the authorization system. This is not cool at all. And conditions dot size does not equal 1. I mean, we are in a weird branch of CanCan right now. I don't know if any of this in particular has changed. It's just the branch, I believe, that they were working on Rails 6 support in. So. Are you sure? The previously Solidus was locked to like 2.2 and earlier because of these issues, I believe. Either less than 2.2 or less than equal to 2.2. So we've been on an oldish version for a while. Well, not that old. Not more than 8 years old. Interesting. So, okay. Okay, so it's not the two rules in here. So that's at least better. It's the manage rule that's causing the problems. I'm kind of sketched out by how this works under the hood, but I'm gonna come back to this one. I don't think it's gonna be much fun for anyone to watch me continue to slam my head into this. There are limited calls to accessible by on this on orders, potentially like 2. So like working around it would not be huge. It may be worth digging into why this is an issue now and wasn't an issue previously. But that's going to take me cherry picking the Rails 6 support onto previous versions of this, which would be a fun exercise, but it's probably worth calling this stream at an hour and shutting her down. So thanks to everyone that came out. It was a record number of viewers at 4 people. At least 2 of them are mods, but that's okay. If any of you are people that don't know me, welcome to the channel. Stream every week at this time, doing Ruby on Rails, open source work, and maybe other stuff too in the future. Check out my Twitter for... Oh, there was 5 for a sec. Woo! Really just blowing through those records. Follow me on Twitter. Twitter's down in the description for the channel. That's where I tweet about whether I'm streaming, whether I'm doing any extra streams this week, and anything else related to the work I'm doing in open source and in general. But yeah, thanks for coming. See y'all next time.